Only I know. The real killer was that washing machine. Winner, 1999. The pork butcher, Mr. Fung from our town, was killed in a bizarre way. His head had been stuffed into the dryer drum of a washing machine. Everyone in town was making wild guesses, wondering who could possibly have such a deep grudge against Mr. Fung. But only I knew. The killer was not human. It was that terrifying washing machine. At that time, I was lying in bed, wrapped in a blanket, relaxing and watching TV. My father worked at the grain warehouse and happened to be on duty that day. My mother had gone to third aunt's house to play mahjong, so I was the only one at home. I remember it very clearly. The TV was showing my fair princess at the time. Long Nu was just about to meet Qian Long when the picture suddenly flickered with static. Then a flash of light appeared, and the TV went completely black. I quickly crawled out from under the blanket, getting ready to go over and slap the TV a few times. Right then, a line of words appeared on the TV screen. Beware of household appliances. Against a black background, the large blood-red letters looked extremely strange. Before I even had time to feel scared, the static on the TV disappeared and everything returned to normal. Qian Long and Long Nu were hugging each other, crying their eyes out. At the time, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, so I pretended nothing had happened. The next day, my father rushed home in a panic. He grabbed me out from under the blanket with one hand, then stopped me from moving around and stuffed me back under it. What happened, Dad? He told me that the pork butcher in town, Mr. Fung, had been killed, and the police were looking for the murderer. Stay home by yourself and behave. I'm going to third aunt's house to bring your mother back. Dad put on his snow hat and reminded me again. No matter who knocks, don't open the door. Just pretend no one is home. You mother and son really never give me peace of mind. As soon as Dad left, I jumped out of bed, got dressed as fast as I could, and ran outside. I had just turned 14 at the time, an age when everything made me curious. I ran to my neighbor's house and called my best friend, Lizzie, to go with me to Mr. Feng's house to see what was going on. Everyone in town knew Mr. Feng was not a good man. Every few days, he would get drunk, and whenever he drank, he would beat his wife. Lizzie and I arrived at the scene, and even from far away, we could hear Mrs. Feng crying. Several people in blue military-style uniforms, wearing large sheepskin hats, were keeping order outside. The crowd had packed the place tightly, layer after layer. The two of us couldn't squeeze our way in. That old man died in such a strange way. I think it was like something possessed by ghosts. Who wouldn't say that, with snow falling that heavily? There wasn't a single footprint at the scene. Did the murderer know how to fly? Move aside. The men in big hats pushed through the crowd, while a few others carried out a washing machine covered in blood. Good heavens, everyone cried out in shock, with all kinds of crude exclamations. I was just like everyone else, staring blankly at that washing machine stained red and white. A strange feeling rose in my stomach. It felt like the washing machine had smiled at me. Lizzie and I had almost reached home when we happened to run into my father, who was rushing out in panic. You little brat. I told you not to go outside. Did you not understand me? Dad raised his hand and slapped me hard, then dragged me home by the arm. I was just watching the commotion. You stupid kid. What the hell is there to watch? Old Wu already said that Mr. Feng was killed by us, and you still dared to get mixed up in this kind of thing. Old Wu was the fortune teller in town. People said his predictions were very accurate. Before my final exam, my father once asked him to predict my scores. He said I would fail miserably. The next day, when the results came out, just as Old Wu had said, I really did fail. When I got home, I was beaten again. My mother was the same. She beat me and scolded me for failing and for being careless all day and night. As if that still wasn't enough, Dad brought me home, took off his sheepskin hat and military coat, then dropped heavily onto the bed. Son, why is the TV broken? I panicked, but my mouth said, that's impossible. I was still watching my fair princess yesterday. Turns out, it simply hadn't been plugged in. Dad walked around near the TV, plugged the power cord into the socket, pressed the remote, and the TV lit up. Dad switched to the movie channel, laughing loudly while rolling a cigarette. Strange. I had absolutely no memory of it. 101. 0:03 to 27,600, 0 hours 3 minutes and 29 seconds, 333. When did I ever unplug it? But if the power was always cut off, how was I even watching TV? A movie, The Happy Ghost. Dad crawled out from under the bed, covered in dust, and asked, Son, why hasn't your mother come home yet? Dad, maybe I should go check Third Annie's house. Let you go out alone? I just end up searching the whole town for you. Get dressed, quick. Let's both go to Third Annie's and take a look. Third Annie had a good head for business. She ran a grocery store in the front yard and converted the back rooms into a gambling den. There were about 10 gambling dens in town, but only Third Annie's was thriving. Before Dad and I even stepped into the yard, the loud, rhythmic clacking of mahjong tiles echoed from afar. Winning hand. Don't touch it, it's scorching hot. I recognized that voice. It was Mom. Her signature laughter was unmistakable. one of a kind. I hurried through the yard to the side room and pulled back the curtain. Mom, Andy. They were sitting around an automatic mahjong table with two other players, chatting and drawing tiles. At first glance, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but when my eyes fell on the mahjong machine, I froze. The fingers of all four players were mangled and bloody. Fresh red blood stained every single tile. On the felt cover of the table, the blood had pooled into eerie red patterns, yet they seemed completely oblivious, totally immersed in the game. I rushed forward and grabbed Mom's hand. Mom, stop playing. She glanced at me, pushed me aside, and said, "Go home and do your homework. Mom is working hard to make money. I'll have your tuition money earned in a bit." Without looking back, she continued rubbing a tile in her hand. Dad walked in then and was terrified by the sight. Strong as he was, he couldn't budge Mom. As she drew tiles, it was clear she was possessed. "Son, go find Blind Wu to perform an exorcism." Earlier at home, Dad had said Old Fong was just possessed by a demon. Old Fong had encountered an automatic mahjong machine. That connection made the key to the problem click in my mind. The machine's power cord was right next to me. Just as I reached out to pull it, a violent sense of dread surged in my heart. Instinctively, I jumped back. Immediately, a sharp, whistling sound zipped past my ear. A mahjong tile flew right in front of my face and smashed into the wall. It hit with enough force to crack the red brick wall. The three players at the table stared at me simultaneously, their voices soft yet chilling. My whole body trembled. My gut told me that if I touched that plug, the next tile would crush my skull. Dad had both arms wrapped around Mom, trying to pull her out of the chair. She didn't move an inch. She chuckled and played a white dragon tile stained with blood. "Go." I nodded and ran out of the room. But I wasn't going to find Blind Wu. I remembered that Third Annie's circuit breaker was in the grocery store out front. I managed to find it and flipped the switch. The next moment, I heard a click, followed by cries of pain from Third Annie and the others. Dad helped Mom, and I helped Third Annie to the town clinic. According to them, they had no idea. They had been playing mahjong for a full day and night. They hadn't even felt the pain, as their fingertips were ground to the bone. Did the hunger, exhaustion, weakness, and agony all crash down on them at once? After their wounds were bandaged, Dad brought Mom and me home. Then, without resting, he raced to Blind Wu's place. "Don't worry, son. Blind Wu can drive away the evil spirits. Mom will be just fine." Over an hour later, Blind Wu arrived with Dad. As soon as he stepped inside, he began sniffing the air everywhere, just like the yellow dog at Lay's house. "This is a vengeful spirit at work." Blind Wu counted on his fingers, muttering to himself. "First it went for Old Fong, now it wants to attach itself to your family. What a persistent, hateful curse." Upon hearing that the evil energy haunting Mom was linked to Old Fong, Dad was so panicked he almost fell to his knees. After all, in Dad's eyes, this next part of the story ramps up the mystery as the protagonist and his friend, Lai T, start to realize that the curse is manifesting through common household appliances. "Don't get into trouble, son." Paced around the house for a while, then stopped. Using his fingers like a sword, he shouted, "Heaven's cold command, spirits obey. By the light of the 7 stars, let the evil depart." Nothing unusual happened in the house. Blind Wu wrinkled his nose, sniffed around, and nodded. "All right. The evil energy has temporarily left. Remember to chant Namo Amituofo a few times, and you will naturally remain safe and sound. I have other business today. I'll stop by again tomorrow." Blind Wu's whole routine felt strange to me. The Taoist grandmother and Amitabha Buddha, those don't exactly belong to the same system. After receiving an 80 HU red envelope, Blind Wu left with a hearty laugh. Both Mom and Dad breathed a sigh of relief, their faces looking much more relaxed. "What's that sound?" I perked up my ears, on high alert. Dad also listened intently, becoming wary. After a moment, we found the culprit. The noise was coming from the windowsill. Dad took the batteries out of the radio, and the strange static noise stopped instantly. Probably just a bad connection. I'll buy a new one later. Appliances these days are such poor quality. After finishing lunch, I told my parents I was going to Lai T's to play. It seemed Blind Wu's exorcism worked. At least, it had a psychological effect on Dad. Lai T was lying on his bed doing homework. When he saw me, he happily tossed his pen. "Second brother, tell me more about that Old Fong case." "It's not just Old Fong," I said. Sitting on the bed, I told Lai T everything about the mahjong machine. Lai T listened, mesmerized. "Man, stop making stuff up. I'm serious. That thing has latched onto my mom and Third Annie." "It's okay, bro. Let's try to analyze it." Lai T took out a piece of scrap paper. "Assuming there's something out there, a ghost. Maybe. Let's call it Subject X for now." "Then what?" "There's too little info. We can't analyze it." "Are you messing with me? Chill out, bro. Let's watch TV." He laughed and turned on the TV. "My dad's at the office. He definitely won't be back today. My fair princess was playing Why do they play this show every single day? Wait, this is weird. Look, My Fair Princess usually started at noon. By evening, it was already on the 3rd episode. So ... What was I watching last night? After 10 minutes of debating, I gave in. The TV was broadcasting My Fair Princess last night, but the plot I saw didn't match. The scene where the lead disguises herself was episode 11, but the emotional reunion was episode 24, where everyone is crying in a heap. I had no memory of that scene. I thought about the red text flashing on the screen, and the fact that the TV wasn't even plugged in. An inexplicable fear surged within me. After further discussion, we named these 3 incidents: the glitching TV, the washing machine murder, and the wall smasher mahjong. I came up with the last one. The way that tile almost killed me was truly terrifying. All 3 cases were related to household appliances. Lighty scribbled on the paper as he spoke. Some appliances want to save people, while others want to kill. Ultimately, we couldn't reach a solid conclusion. Our first theory: some appliances have a consciousness of their own. I looked at the TV and fridge in Lighty's house, swallowing hard. Lighty, do you think more people are going to die? How is that possible? But on the 2nd day after Old Fong's death, Blind Wu met his end as well. Blind Wu's death was even more bizarre than Old Fong's. According to Blind Wu's neighbor, he heard a stranger visit Blind Wu that night. The two seemed to be chatting happily. The next morning, when the neighbor went out for exercise, he could still hear voices coming from inside Blind Wu's house. He thought it was very strange. What kind of guest stays up talking all night? Could it be a long-lost friend? The neighbor walked to the door and pressed his ear against it. He saw Blind Wu lying flat on his back on the floor. 301. 0 hours 10 minutes and 8 seconds. 500. 010 to 10,933. Had been dead for a long time. An old radio was still broadcasting today's news next to him. That afternoon, Loi Tu went to the police to find his dad. He overheard the higher-ups discussing the cause of Blind Ngo's death. His tongue was knotted, leading to mechanical asphyxiation. To put it bluntly, he was choked to death by his own tongue. Unless Blind Ngo was crazy enough to tell stories, monologue, and vocalize to himself all night, the most likely possibility is that he had been talking to the radio in the house all night long, talking until his tongue twisted and choked him to death. Loi Tu and I named this incident the gossiping radio case. After Blind Ngo's tragic death, my dad completely panicked. I understood him perfectly. He had pinned all his hopes on Blind Ngo. If he had known earlier that Blind Ngo was unreliable, it would have saved my dad's 88 RMB. Rumors also started spreading everywhere in the town. Some said it was the animal spirits. Others said it was an evil spirit returning to a corpse. Aside from Loi Tu and me, no one believed that home appliances were the cause. My parents didn't believe it either, but seeing how insistent I was, and since there was no other life-saving option at the moment, they went along with my plan. We packed up all the electrical appliances in the house and moved them to Loi Tu's house. Then, we had Loi Tu stay over at my place. After dinner, the 4 of us played poker for a bit and went to bed early. Our family's bed is very large. It could easily fit 2 more people. After 2 consecutive days of experiencing bizarre events, my nerves had been wound up tight like a bowstring. Once I relaxed, I fell into a deep sleep. I don't know how much time passed, but a noise woke me from my dreams. Knock, knock. It sounded like someone was knocking on the door. I listened for a moment, and noticed the knocking was extremely rhythmic. It came in sets of 3 knocks, 1 second between each knock, and 5 seconds between each set. I didn't dare go open the door. I immediately reached out and shook my dad, who was sleeping to my left, and called out to him. My dad's eyes were shut tight, and he was muttering Namo Amitabha, faster and faster. To my dad's left was my mom. A woman's voice chanting sutras echoed from that side. I opened my eyes. On my right, Loi Tu had buried his head in the blanket, pretending to be fast asleep. It turned out I was the last one to wake up. I suddenly realized that whatever was knocking on the door outside was choosing to knock, rather than breaking it down and rushing in. This proved that unless someone opened the door for it, it couldn't get inside. If it couldn't get in, let it keep knocking. I rolled over, and, accompanied by the rhythmic knocking, slowly drifted back to sleep. When I woke up, it was already broad daylight. I crawled out of bed, and let out a long yawn. Son, wake up quickly. My dad's voice echoed through the house. He then called all the staff in the... I rolled over, jumped out of bed. Town committee, grabbed a coat, threw it on, and stumbled outside. Look and see what's going on. My parents and Loi Tu were all leaning against the window, looking out into the yard. Curious, I joined them at the window. It had been snowing continuously for the past few days, but the yard was almost completely swept clean. A giant snowman stood in the middle of the yard. On the large snowball representing the head, a few lines had been carved, outlining a ferocious smile. Over a dozen small household appliances lay scattered around the snowman. There was a vacuum cleaner, a shaver, an electric fan, and a massager. For some reason, the snowman's smile gave me a feeling of eerie familiarity. After breakfast, our family of 3, plus Lloyd, headed straight for the town committee office. The town chairman was an old acquaintance of my dad's. So, without much effort, we got into the chairman's office. "What's going on, buddy? Why did you bring the whole family here? We have something to report to you." Regarding Mr. Fong and Blind NGO, hearing that our information was related to deaths, the town chairman didn't dare take it lightly. He listened to our story with utmost seriousness. For 101, 0 hours 13 minutes and 7 seconds, 300 as 0 hours 13 minutes and 9 seconds, 366. Counting last night's incident of small appliances building a snowman. This is already the 5th case. Furthermore, in places we cannot see, there are surely many other incidents happening. Initially, the town chairman thought we were talking nonsense, but seeing how certain we were, he was half believing, half doubting. "Then wait here for me to make a call." Right in front of us, the town chairman dialed a number to the city. He had only said a few words when a loud shout came from the other end. Even 2 meters away from the phone, I heard it crystal clear. The town chairman angrily hung up. "Did you hear that? The city advises you to go to the psychiatric ward of a hospital and get your heads checked properly. Don't blame everything on ghosts and spirits. You must believe in science." When mentioning believe in science, the town chairman gritted his teeth and slammed his hand on the desk. Right after the town chairman finished scolding us, the printer on the desk suddenly automatically printed 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages. A total of 16 pages were printed. Before the printer stopped, the town chairman frowned and picked up the printed papers. He saw bizarre lines drawn on them. "What is this? The printer must be broken. Take it to get fixed." A young man knocked on the door, walked in, picked up the printer, and left. The town chairman pointed at the door, gesturing for us to follow the young man out. "Get out of here?" But I suddenly had a bold speculation. I took those randomly printed papers, squatted on the floor, and pieced them together. The first and second pages formed a character wood. The third and fourth formed another wood. 1 plus 1 makes 4. Very quickly, the 16 A4 pages formed for large words. Believe in science. Seeing this result, the town chairman went crazy. Holding the phone receiver in one hand, he continuously dialed over 10 numbers, but the results were all the same. Different voices, from different numbers, all told him that speculations about home appliances were all baseless, repeatedly advising him to believe in science. But when he dialed the fire department's number, he dialed 2 digits wrong, yet the other party still claimed to be the fire department's dispatcher, advising him to believe in science. A moment later, all of us realized the crux of the problem. A telephone is also a home appliance. This red, landline phone was imitating a human voice, answering the town chairman's questions, just like Blind NGO's radio. At this point, the town chairman completely believed us. Me, my parents, Lloyd, and the town chairman. A total of 5 people sat in the office, thinking hard, trying to summarize the rules behind these incidents. In the office, all home appliances had been thrown outside. We used the most primitive method, pen and paper, to take notes and summarize. Rule 1. Once a home appliance is operating, pay attention to whether the power source is properly connected. If you discover a home appliance working without being plugged in, stay away immediately. Rule 2. When using home appliances, pay attention to the usage time. If you notice someone using a home appliance, contrary to common sense, go to a place where the appliance cannot see you, and cut off the power. Rule 3. Things that can use sound and writing to transmit information aren't limited to humans. Try to communicate face-to-face in person, and carefully judge the source of the information. Rule 4. Even if there are no home appliances left in the house, they can still actively come to your door. Rule 5. Most home appliances are neutral and lack consciousness. A small portion has independent consciousness and is aggressive. Among these conscious home appliances, very few are on humanity's side. Is there anything else to add? The town chairman asked us. We had no other opinions for the time being.